Good morning, Genesis. I say good morning, Genesis. All right. Yes. There's so many of you right here. Oh, my brother, there's far too many of you dying. You know we gotta find a way to bring somebody up here today. Sister, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, but only love can conquer hate. You know we gotta find a way to bring some understanding here today. Oh, picket signs, picket lines, don't punish me with brutality. Come on, talk to me so you can see what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. I wanna know, somebody tell me, yeah. Father, everybody thinks that we're wrong. Oh, why do I judge us? Just because our hair is long. You know we got to find a way, yeah, bring some understanding here today. Picket signs, picket lines, don't punish me with brutality. Come on, talk to me so you can see, yeah, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. What's happening, brother? What's happening, sister? I know that today we have issues of fratricide, genocide, matricide. Can somebody tell me what's going on in the world today? Somebody, please, I would like to know what's going on. What's happening down here? Say, what's going on in the world today.
My number one question after that song, Pete, how big was your afro? Because I know when I was in college, I didn't have an afro, but I had a lot of hair. I remember, I've been thinking about this a little bit lately because when I was a teenager, every day on the television, we had images of the war in Vietnam. And the war that was going on the other side of the planet was nothing compared to the war that was going on between my parents and my older brother, Randy. Because my older brother, Randy, had grown his hair over his ears. And really, you would have thought it was the end of Western civilization. It was really like, you know, why do you want to look like a bum? You look like a girl. Why do you have to grow your hair long? I mean, it was just, they could not. That song was very pertinent. So this week is the second in this series that I'm doing this month on negotiating life's rich contradictions. And what I'm going to talk about today is the contradiction that we as human beings crave both constancy and stability and change. And I'm gonna talk about that. I don't know, I feel like my talk today is kind of like a stone soup or a gumbo. I've just thrown a bunch of different things in there. I don't think I'm gonna hand you a nicely wrapped package with all the answers, but what I hope with my talk today is that I'm going to stimulate your thinking about your experience of life and yourself, and maybe get some clues about this business of how to be satisfied in the face of the fact that our nature is constantly dissatisfied. So to live life to the fullest, we are required to balance opposite conditions such as sleep and wakefulness. Okay? If we don't sleep, we go crazy. And if we don't wake up, we're in a coma. And neither of those is a great way to live life. So we have to balance sleep and wakefulness, right? And people struggle with sleeping too much or not enough, or being manic, or being too active, never resting. Then there's physical activity and rest. So we have to have some physical activity, but we also need to restore. The contradiction I'm talking about today is constancy and change. And this dynamic plays out in every aspect of our experience of life. For instance, the body likes it that you would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at roughly the same time each day. But your taste buds demand that you don't eat the exact same thing at every meal every day. So you want constancy, but you want change. There's a relationship built between constancy and change into the very nature of this physical plane we share and the deepest levels of our experience of it. If nothing changes, then we're bored, which next to a physical boo-boo is the worst thing a child can experience, right? I mean, I'm bored. Is that not like the worst? To be bored is the worst. There's nothing to do. It's raining. I'm sick of that. Insert name of toy, game, sibling, teacher, or parent. What's the worst thing that can happen when you go to the movies, hang out with other people, fly halfway around the world to get away from everything, and now stuck alone with yourself, find out that you are bored? There's nothing worse than being bored at a party. There's nothing worse than being bored at the movies. There's nothing worse than being bored with yourself. So, we need change. Think about it. On the other hand, if everything is constantly changing, we experience chaos, which is why being a refugee or an immigrant in a new country is so incredibly challenging. Imagine that you, by choice or by force, move to a different country, a very different country from the one you were raised in. And now here you are, and you don't know the language. Maybe people drive on the other side of the street. What is this money? How do you know what the price of things means or the value of anything is? Anybody ever traveled and you have to be a money lender, a money changer in your mind and go like, oh my God, so a real is worth this, so how much is this cup of coffee costing me? Or this hotel room? Like the basics, the things that you so take for granted here are completely alien to you. Also, what is polite behavior? What is rude behavior? Is that a smile or a grimace of disapproval? I remember the time I was in London and I was taking the tube to the airport to come home, and there was just a handful of people on the subway car, and I'm sitting there and there's a girl sitting catty-corner to me, and she's reading a book, and I go, oh, you're reading that book? I'm reading that book. Isn't it wonderful? And I could feel instantly every British person on that car recoiling in absolute horror, because British reserve is very real, and you do not do that. I'm like in American culture, it's like, oh, you're reading a book, how is it? I talk to people. You don't do that there. Very bad. Very bad. As an immigrant, you are challenged at the deepest level. What is my home? How do things work? Has anyone besides me ever been shocked by how small refrigerators are in the houses in Europe? They're just like these little tiny things. It's like, what is that? Things you take for granted. There are infinite opportunities in a foreign land to make a mistake, take the wrong turn, confront an alien environment. Now, if the Buddha was right, and life is or life contains suffering, then one truly basic way we suffer is from too much change or not enough change. Think about in your own life. When have you felt stuck? When have you felt pushed? When has change come upon you that you didn't want? When did you make a change and then you deeply regretted it? Or you made the change and then, surprise, all kinds of things popped out once you opened door number 3. And it's a bit complicated to deal with this because everything is connected, and it can feel like you make a wanted change in one area of life, you're going to bring chaos to another area. It's like the structure of your life is like a Jenga tower. And if you just pull the wrong thing out, boop, right? I'll change my job, but what that's going to do to my schedule, my commute, my finances, and all the new things I'll have to learn that are out of my comfort level. I'm sick of these Seattle rain festivals from September to May. I'll move somewhere warmer. But what will that do to nearby friendships and family relationships? Conversely, maybe you're trying to resist change and hold on to some cherished constancy. And I'll just mention the words house fire, divorce, teenagers, medical diagnoses. Change will come upon you. It's shocking how quickly life can seem to descend into chaos. So after all of that I have just painted, bear with me a little bit because I'm about to become an even worse Debbie Downer. It's often the case that when you're going through a struggle about some need for stability or change, that the people around you may not be having the same needs. They may be struggling with what you want to change or preserve. They may want you to change when you don't, or not change when you do. Yikes! So it isn't just your own experience of constancy and change that you may be struggling with, but the people around you are having a reaction to that. So, do we agree this is a rich, juicy contradiction that we all deal with at various times in our lives? So, at this point now, I've got a few pieces of good news for you. The first is, If you are struggling with the issue of boredom or overwhelm in the face of change in any area of life, I want to remind you that you're in very good company. Try not to blame anyone or anything, and especially don't be hard with yourself. It's just the human condition. Welcome to the club. Who here has not struggled with boredom, or needing to change, or wanting to change, or worrying about the change, or anxiety about the change, spinning your wheels? Should I go this way? Should I go that way? Should I stop? Should I go? We're just here, and this is part of the crazy ride that we're on in the parade of life. And if you're going through this in any area, above all, try to be patient with yourself. Try to be kind to yourself. Because the truth is, God is real, and everything's going to be okay. God is real, and everything is going to be okay. You may wind up someplace that you did not expect to wind up. You may wind up doing things that you swore you would never do. You may find yourself on the exact opposite side of the world. And it's still okay. It's still a great life. It's still a great life that you are living. I have a story, and it's about Ricky Byers. And you all know a little bit about Ricky Byers because we sing two of her songs every Sunday. Well, I was a music director, and I was a music director at a center where Ricky Byers came annually for the summer. They had a summer camp, church camp. And she was the guest musician for many years. And the first year that I became music director was the last year that she was the guest. It was kind of like a transitional thing. And so we hung out for a week, and I got to know her pretty well. And she had a music symposium. She organized this big retreat, kind of multi-day musical event, inviting a lot of music directors from around the country. She's a fantastic singer, a fantastic musician. She has a big soul. She's everything that I would hope someday I would become, right? And she invited me to participate in this. I was so incredibly honored. And so that's the backdrop. Okay, so there was a New Thought Choral Festival that was organized at Mary Mann Morrissey's church outside Portland in Oregon. And there were to be 4 choirs there. There was Ricky's big choir, Ricky's professional choir. This is a smaller ensemble with professional LA singers. So both of those ensembles, the music was beyond incredible. And then there was the choir of the host church, and then there was our choir. And we got down there, and we were the last choir to have our sound check before lunch. And we were doing Bridge Over Troubled Water, big arrangement, choir, and soloists, and the soloists didn't make it in time for the rehearsal. And so a member of the choir offered to just jump in and sing the solo for the rehearsal, and didn't really know the piece, so it wasn't great. And there were other problems with our tech rehearsal, and it was pretty bumpy and weird, and people were streaming out of the rehearsal space because they wanted to get in line for lunch. And I just thought, oh my God, what have I done? This is the first time I'm taking my choir outside of our safe church environment. We're going to be the absolute bomb here. We are just, this is not, oh my God, what have I done? I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm going to create this bad experience for my choir. It was just the worst. And I thought, boy, I have really been kidding myself. Here I thought I've been doing a good job, and clearly I'm totally blowing it. As soon as we get back, I'm going to resign. Okay? That's where I was. So here's the really fabulous thing that happened. I get up, I go in, we're all in line at the cafeteria for lunch, and I happen to be standing next to Ricky Byers. And I turn to her, and she, gives me a cheery good morning, and I said, I don't think I can do this anymore. I think I'm going to go home and resign. And she said, I know that one. I've been there. And it was the kindest, it was the greatest thing in the world. Because here I'm thinking, she's sitting on top of the world. Everything is rainbows and puppy dogs in her world. And everything is great. And then to find out that this totally incredible, music director wanted to quit her job. It lightened my load incredibly. And to finish this little story, we were scheduled to open the concert. So we're all crammed in, by the stage entrance, about to go on, and our opening number was Bridge Over Troubled Water. And I was very still, emotional, very insecure, very, struggling with myself. And I stood in front of the choir and I said to them, I am in a really difficult place. I'm having a really hard time. And I need you to be my bridge over troubled water. And I want to tell you, they got on that stage, and they would have given me their liver. They sang like they had never sung. And the soloist that was supposed to do it did it, and the number was great, and the audience leapt to their feet, huge standing ovation, all is well. So I guess what I want to say, how this relates to constancy and change is, if someone is trying to pressure you to change, or you're struggling with changes you have considered or already made, call on Spirit to provide you the caring and support you need to get through. Somebody, somewhere, has gone through what you are going through. You really, truly are not alone. You are in this big club. It's called the human race, and we all struggle with constancy and change. And secondly, try to find a way to take whatever challenge you're dealing with regarding change or the lack of it as a perfect opportunity to learn something new about what it means to be a human being. I mean, is that not what you came here for? You took human form to learn about God as a human being. And you are God or goddess or the thing itself or divine mind or the spirit as a human being. That's what you chose. I want to just bring you back to the basic choice. The basic choice here is you have chosen to be a human being. And this goes with the territory. Now, I just want to say, I want to do a little sidebar here, and this is for the person who likes to stand on the sidelines and watch life go by. And I want to tell you, that is a perfectly acceptable choice. We are 21st century Americans, and we're all about go get them and win and fight and get on the play field and get some coaching and take on the world and be Tony Robbins. That's our value, right? As Americans. If you're not that person, if you are here because you want to watch, good for you. You're still a human being learning. Just know that Divine Mind has arranged it so that even you will be pushed by life onto the playing field. And at some point, we'll have to actively participate and make a decision. Or watch what happens if you don't make decisions. So this talk is for you also. I want to just throw that out there. Now, we all love French fries until the day we're sick of them. That new lover is perfection personified until they say something unbelievably ignorant or cruel. Anybody ever had that? Fall in love with somebody, everything is just perfect, and then you see them picking their nose, and you're like, oh. We love the new job until we start noticing that the annoying people you're getting to know in the new job are suspiciously like the annoying people in the old job. And the one before that. It's a hard realization that the problem you're having isn't the outer circumstance. Maybe it's an inside job. Sometimes it's an outside job. But boy, when you discover it's an inside job, does it not sting? Here's a hot tip. If the problem you're facing has popped up 3 times in 3 different situations, stop trying to change the circumstance and focus on changing you. Full stop. Look inside. That's what practitioners and prayer partners are for. I always have a prayer partner. Every winning athlete has a coach. Every great musician had a teacher. Not every. Some are self-taught. Many have had one teacher, more than one teacher. Somebody that inspired them. Maybe they didn't take formal lessons with someone, but they saw someone else playing an instrument, and that person became their teacher. They studied them. In a healthy prayer partnership, one of the great benefits is that the prayer partner knows you in a deep and meaningful way over time without being directly involved in your day-to-day life. That is what is so great. My prayer partners are not people that I see every day. They're not somebody I'm sleeping with. They're not somebody who lives next door. And when we meet weekly, the deep things are discussed. The deep things are revealed. They know me in a particular way that's incredibly useful. And one of the most exciting things that happens in prayer partnerships for me is when I'm complaining about something and the prayer partner says, you know, you sound exactly like how you were 3 years ago when da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Or when I have been able to point out, I'm having deja vu. Are you talking about this guy or that guy? Because it sounds like the same thing. There's a check-in there. There's a point of view. If they say, I'm having deja vu, you need to pay attention. And if you don't have a prayer partner, this wonderful community will absolutely help you find one. There's somebody to pray with you. I love my prayer partners. I've had great demonstrations with prayer partners. My first prayer partner, when we started, she had been in a car accident. She was very physical. She'd been in a car accident, and she couldn't hardly do anything because everything was all out of alignment. She didn't have a partner. She hated her job. She didn't have any money. And after 2 years, she moved to Hawaii. She was running. She was biking. She was surfing. She had a beautiful lover, and she was doing her dream job. That's what a prayer partnership can do for you. And anyone can do that for you. Because we're here for each other. And prayer really does work. Can I get an amen? Amen. I'm going to say that again. Hello? Prayer really does change things. What's great about you being the problem is that you have 100% power to change the situation for the better. I may not be able to stop the flood. I may not be able to put out the fire. I may not be able to transform someone I'm in a relationship with or change their character. But when I am the issue, I have the power. I have the power. I decide. I can make it new, and that is great. So if you are discovering that you are the problem, try to celebrate that because you have all the power to fix it. It may not be easy. It may not be fun. You may have to give up cherished notions about yourself. Right? Laughter of recognition. Yeah. And last, but certainly not least, actually, before I do last, I just want to give you a metaphor. I want to give you just an image. Constancy and change. Circle that has no opening, that represents constancy. Change is a straight line. It's always going to go off forever. It's always going to change. We're caught between the line and the circle. But if you put them together, what you get is a spiral. And that is what we are. We are spiraling always ever upward in consciousness and awareness. Our birthday comes back around. Same point in the circle around the sun. But every year we're different. When you had your first birthday, I'm sure you did not know how to speak English. You didn't know how to drive a car. You didn't know how to work an ATM. You didn't know how to run a computer. You didn't know, you might not have been able to lift your head up or walk. Think of all the things that you now know that you didn't know when you were 1 year old, and how much of life and how much experience you've had, and how many opportunities you've had to learn about being a human being and to know your relationship with your higher power. Now, lastly, God is the changeless one in the midst of a constantly changing world. When you are in chaos and overwhelm, return to the center. Do whatever you know how to do to come back to your center. All I have to do is close my eyes, take a deep breath, and bring my consciousness to my heart. Do that right now. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath, in and out, and take your consciousness from your head to your heart. This is the fastest, surest, sweetest, most powerful way to come back to the center, that eye of the hurricane. In the center of a hurricane, there is an eye that is incredibly still. You have that. You have that place to renew and to ground yourself. God also apparently likes change and variety, because look at how everything on the physical is so varied and constantly changing. If there is a divine intelligence and power that has created all of this, it likes variety. People are different from each other. Summer is different than winter. Midnight is different than noon. Bitter is different than sweet. Gay is different than straight. There's a lot of variety out there. If you don't know which way to turn, and don't see a way out, and don't know what to choose or when, if you don't know these things, who has the answer? Who has the best answer among all the options? Who knows the way out? God. Who knows the happiest outcome? God. Who always knows what you could be doing to live your best possible life? God. I mean, come on. You came to Center for Spiritual Living, you're going to get this question and answer. I mean, really. That's all any minister has to give you. Why not turn to the infinite mind that saw your situation coming before you were even born? That's the good news. If you're in overwhelm, too much change, you can go right to the eye of the hurricane and be at peace. And if you're stuck and you don't know where to go, well, you know, you and Spirit are one, and it's like if you don't connect with God, it's like you own and live in a magnificent mansion and you're standing in the foyer going, I don't know where to go. And the whole house is right in front of you and everything in it. Let's pray. I give thanks to the Spirit for its genius, for its wisdom, its generosity, its intelligence, for constructing me as a being with a nature that is contradictory and unpredictable. I love this humanness that I have been given by the Spirit. I love the opportunity to live the spiral dynamic, to constantly spiral upward, to mature, to grow, to deepen in love, in wisdom, and awareness. I am so grateful that the Spirit is always standing at the ready to give me the answer, to supply my every need, to provide not only a choice, but the best choice. And I claim that for every single person here, because the wonderful thing about the Spirit is that it doesn't play favorites. And what it's doing for me in my life, and Ricky Byers' life, and anyone else I imagine that is perfect and wonderful and has no problems, is doing for everyone else here. I bless this life that we are living and the rich contradictions that give us so many opportunities to grow, to learn, to become more of the divine self that we truly are. Life is good, all is well, and so it is.
Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone must change. Nothing stays the same. The young become the old. Beauty will unfold. That's the way of time. Everything must change. There are not many things in life you can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Winter turns to spring. Wounded heart bleeding. Never much too soon. Everything must change. The young become the old. Mysteries will unfold. That's the way of time. Nothing and no one grows unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure of. Everything must change.